G'day everyone, something a bit different this morning. Thought I'd bring you along on the cleaning journey of a couple of newer acquisitions to our collection. We've recently acquired two Red Bellied Black Snakes and it's time to give them a clean. So I thought I'd just run through the process of how we actually do it, because we're handling obviously a venomous snake and they're little, so they're a little bit harder to handle, and it's not like cleaning a normal snake cage. So just thought I'd bring you along for the ride. Might be of interest to some people, just show you some of the things we use, and hopefully it all goes swimmingly well. So here's one of our snakes in this systemic container, and what we've got over here is an empty container of the same size and description. And what we'll do is we'll simply, rather than try and muck with keeping this snake in a separate container and then have to put it back in, the intent is to have this container ready to go so we can simply just transfer this little snake straight into a new enclosure with as minimum fuss as possible. So first and foremost, we'll clean our container that the snake's going into this morning. Now this, you might be wondering, is methylated spirits. I've used methylated spirits for over 20 years now. It's as almost a sterilizing agent. It doesn't really clean that well, but I use it to clean cages once they've been washed, and that helps to remove any risk of disease or pathogens that might be present. So we'll wipe that out. This box has been washed. We'll give this a wipe over. Good thing about methylated spirits, and it's undiluted, being alcohol based, it just evaporates pretty quickly. Just give it a wipe, wait for the actual odor of the product to disappear. Put that paper in our bin down here. All right, what I also do through this process, as I'm sure many of you are all accustomed to at the moment, we use it to also sanitize our hands as well. It's very, very good for a number of reasons. One of those is to make sure we don't pick up anything from the fecal matter of snakes or just mucking with reptiles. So what we'll do now is we'll get some paper towel. This is just simple kitchen grade paper towel that we'll line this box with. Just get it to shape. We'll line the new box. What we've got here is, this is simply a PVC end cap for some plumbing or irrigation. That sort of 100 ml size is probably more used on things like water tanks and maybe even sewage. I'm not sure, not a plumber, but they make decent little hinds. And being PVC, you can actually wash them. I've also used the methylated spirits to clean this or sanitize this prior, so that goes in. That's its hide. And same with these little ramekin dishes. These make great water bowls, holds a good volume of water, but being heavy, they can't be knocked over by a little animal too. So we pop that in, fill it up with some water. So essentially ready to go. So the idea now, all going to plan, is we can simply transfer this young snake into a box, into its freshly clean box with minimum fuss. So here goes. All right, so this is, and they do smell a bit, so that's the old water. Get rid of that. So we've got a little Red Bellied Black Snake here, all sort of coiled up. The trick is here just to try and pick him up, right? Pick him up. There's not really any great way to do it with a snake like this other than just to go by the tail gently, pop him in his new box, lid on, fuss free, move the dirty one over there for cleaning. And you can see in a matter of seconds, we've got a snake in its new home, freshly clean, minimum fuss, and it's already gone into its hide. So it's not about heroics and handling the snake or anything like that. Yes, there's an element of danger, but experience tells me if you know what you're doing. And these snakes, they're young, they're not aggressive, they don't mean any harm, they're very, very shy. So if you just minimize the contact, then it all goes swimmingly well, as you've seen. So what we'll do now is that one's actually clean, ready to go back into its heated enclosure. Now we've got to do its sibling. As I said, we've got two, so we'll do the same thing with the sibling. The only thing I will do on this old enclosure is we'll remove, we've got a feeding record here. Thankfully the Matt in Queensland who bred these snakes kept a good feeding record of these animals, so I've done the same thing, and I'll update it with its last feed, which was last weekend. and these guys are eating fuzzy mice. So we'll keep a feeding record just so we can track their progress. But essentially that's done. There we've got another box, another one of these systema enclosures, or tubs I should say, to clean. We'll do that and we'll transfer the second snake. Okay, here we go with snake number 2. Already prepped my transfer container, the new freshly cleaned container. Something I'll just do a little bit different here. I'm simply going to transfer this lid that it's already in over to there. Right, we'll get that in a position where it's ready. Right, so hopefully we won't have too much grief. They certainly need a clean. They're very good eaters already, these young snakes, and that means they're messy. And for those of you know anything about venomous snakes, they're particularly yuck when it comes to their toilet habits. So let's see how we go here. So this guy here, we'll just get him in the right position so he's not cornered or threatened. So we'll simply get him here like that. He's a little bit bigger, this one, but you can see again, pretty mellow. They jump around a bit, and I'm not showing what that looks like on camera, but they do move around a bit. But again, that's just more, they're not sure what's going on. So there's no aggression in their reaction. It's simply just they're not sure what's going on. Some bozos just come and grab them by the tail, so they react accordingly. But at no stage do they try and bite or anything like that. You know, always try and pick them up by the non-sharp end, and usually goes off without incident if you do it all right. So I find though it's certainly easier when the snakes get bigger. Some people might find that a bit odd, a bit interesting to hear. The snake's already put itself away in its hide. But little snakes like this tend to be a little bit awkward. They're very flicky. You obviously don't have as much distance between their rear end and their mouth. So I find bigger snakes a bit easier to handle. But this species here in particular, I won't say they're a joy to have. They won't say they're a joy to handle, but they're a joy to have. But they're one of the easier species of snakes when they're young to muck around with. So there you go. That's just a little bit of a run through of how we clean these little guys. Fairly straightforward. We do that, you know, obviously as need be. At the moment, it's about once a week. These guys will be fed again in the next day or two, and then that means in a couple of days after that, we'll be doing the same sort of thing. And that's my thermostat alarm because I've got their box open. All right. Thanks for joining me. We'll talk to you again soon.